Today, we will continue to explore the question, what do fossils found near the butterfly fossil reveal about the florets? And welcome to today's lesson. I'm Ms. Albina. Today, we will continue to explore the question, what do fossils found near the butterfly fossil reveal about the fluorescent area? Are you ready? Grab your pencil and your science journal, and let's get started. Can you believe that 430 million years ago, fluorescent Colorado looked something like this, completely underwater? In fact, all of North America looked something like this illustration. We even looked at fossil evidence of underwater organisms from various regions of the United States to help us make that claim. But that was hundreds of millions of years ago. How did the environment change? Paleontologists have used evidence from fossils like these to learn about the environment of fluorescent Colorado 34 million years ago, when the organisms that formed these fossils were still alive. One of your tasks after our last lesson was to draw a model of that environment. What did you draw? Let's take a look at our fossils. We have a fossil of a fish and a snail, both of which lived in fresh water. We also have three different plant fossils, a flowering plant, a tree, and a fern. And we have the fossil remains of a wasp and a bird. And of course, our good old friend, the butterfly. Do you have any ideas about what the environment was like when our butterfly was alive? Paleontologists believe the environment of the fluorescent area looked like this when the butterfly fossil formed 34 million years ago. What do you notice? Do you see anything you expect from our fossil evidence? Well, I see a butterfly, and I see plenty of flowers and trees, which were among the fossils we observed. Let's zoom in to take an even closer look. Hey, is that a rhinoceros munching on some grass? And look, is that a fish? Looking over here, I don't see a wasp, but I do see other insects. I even see a deer back there. Oh, and look at that, I see a bird. Butterflies must have had everything they needed to survive in this past environment. Do you think butterflies still live in the fluorescent area today? And how does the model you drew of the past fluorescent environment compare with this illustration? My model has only a few plants, but I see a wide variety of plants in the illustration. Also, my model includes some different organisms than the illustration. We have talked so much about change over time that I wonder what the fluorescent area is like today. Let's see what evidence we can find to help us out. Well, we're in luck because I have a present-day photograph of the area near the fluorescent fossil beds. What do you notice? What do you wonder? Do you notice a big open field of grass without trees? In the illustration, the past fluorescent area was full of trees. I see some trees, but not as many. Paleontologists found a fossil of a fish from this area, but I don't see any water in the present day. Does that mean that fish and other water organisms don't live in the fluorescent area anymore? Let's take another close look at this photograph. What kinds of organisms do you think live in the fluorescent area today? What can you imagine might live in the environment in this photograph? Well, I'll start with what I can see. I see trees, and I know birds often live in trees, so I imagine that birds live in the Florissant area today. We looked at many fossils from the Florissant area in our last lesson. I wonder whether any of the organisms that formed those fossils still live there today. If so, I would expect to see flowering plants and ferns. Now, we also saw fossils of fish and snails, but I don't see any water in this photograph. Well, maybe there's water nearby. Finally, I think this is an environment where a butterfly could survive. I wonder how we can find out more about the present-day environment of the Florissant area. This photograph helps, but we need to do more research. Oh, I know. We can look for more photographs. Maybe we can find photographs of organisms that live in this area. Good thing I brought my photo album. This photo album contains photographs of some of the plants and animals that live in the Florissant area today. Let's see whether they match up with the list we made. Just as we suspected, there are trees in the present-day Florissant area. We saw trees in the first photograph we looked at as well. And what is perched on this other tree? A bird! I knew it. What beautiful coloring. Do you see that little bit of red near its beak? Remember, this is the original list of organisms that we thought might live in present-day Florissant, Colorado. As we look at photographs of the organisms that do live there, let's revise our list. Were we right about trees? Definitely. I have a tree sticker, so let's add it to the photograph of the Florissant area. And we can also put a check by trees on our list. What about the next organism on our list, birds? Right again. We thought there would be birds, and there are. Let's keep going. Back to the album, and what do we see? A butterfly. I'm so glad to see that butterflies still live in the present-day Florissant area, and we can also find flowering plants like this one, blue flax. Oh, and look, ferns. We saw a fossil of a fern, and they're still here in the present day. We even have two different types of fern here. I wonder whether either is the same type that left the fossil. All right, let's look at our list. What's next? Flowering plants. We saw those, as well as ferns. And of course, we saw butterflies. Oh, now here are some organisms that we didn't see among our fossils. Look at the antlers on that deer. Oh, and a beetle. We saw a fossil of a wasp, but not a beetle. I wonder whether any other insects are around. Oh, and more organisms we didn't expect. A bear. Look at those long limbs. We certainly didn't see a bear fossil. Oh, and a squirrel. A squirrel that seems to be having a little snack. Okay, well, that's it for our photo album. Let's go back to our list. Which of the organisms we predicted from the fossils do not live in the Florissant area anymore? We didn't see any photographs of fish or snails, so we can cross those off the list. And what organisms do we need to add that do live in the Florissant area in the present day? We'll have to add the organisms from the photo album that we didn't have on our original list. Let's see, there were deer, beetles, bears, and squirrels. Let's do a quick rundown of past and present organisms. Trees, ferns, flowering plants, birds, and butterflies all lived in the Florissant area in both the past and the present day. We have evidence of fish and snails in the past, but we don't have any evidence of fish or snails in the present. Finally, beetles, deer, bears, and squirrels all live in the Florissant area now, but we didn't see any fossils of these organisms, so we don't have any evidence that they lived there in the past. How can we update our model of the past environment of the Florissant area to reflect the present environment? Let's leave the tree, the fern, the flowering plant, although it looks a bit different from our fossil, the bird, and the butterfly. However, we need to erase the freshwater fish and the freshwater snail. And we didn't see any bodies of water in our photograph, so let's remove the lake. Here, let me rearrange and then add a few things. We saw in the present day photograph that the area was mostly covered with grass, so I'll add that. And now we can add a beetle, a deer, a bear, and a squirrel. After comparing the past organisms of the fluorescent area with today's organisms, what do you understand about the environment of the fluorescent area? One of your tasks after this lesson will be to answer this question. Another task will be to record 2 questions you still have about the environment of the fluorescent area and the organisms that live there. The fluorescent area seems to have changed significantly over time. We are beginning to get an idea of what has changed. Do you see changes here? Think back to the fossils that paleontologists found here. That will be your final task, to answer the question, what do fossils reveal about organisms and the areas where they lived? I can't wait for our next lesson, when we will continue to discover what happened to the fluorescent area since the time when our butterfly was alive. Let's review your tasks for today. First, answer the question about the environment of the fluorescent area. Second, record 2 questions about the environment of the fluorescent area. And third, answer the question about what fossils reveal.